The year 1974 was monumental in entertainment, pop culture, and U.S. and world history. So let's take a look at the most historic moments of 1974. Major worldwide events. 74 was dominated by several major global events. In July, the world was stunned when a coup in Cyprus led to the invasion of the island nation by Turkey, dividing the capital of Nicosia and displacing thousands from their homes. Tensions between Greece and Turkey over Cyprus would continue for decades. In the Middle East, the oil crisis that emerged from the Yom Kippur War in 1973 continued into 74, leading to fuel shortages and rationing across North America, Europe, and Asia. With the Organization of Arab Petroleum Exporting Countries embargoing countries supporting Israel during the conflict, the price of oil quadrupled globally. This tipped major economies into stock market crashes and recession. Meanwhile, in sub-Saharan Africa, the Carnation Revolution of April in Portugal led to the latter's withdrawal from its African colonies of Mozambique, Cape Verde, São Tomé and Príncipe, Guinea-Bissau, and Angola the following year. The Portuguese withdrawal unleashed a decades-long power struggle in Angola and Mozambique especially, fueled by the Cold War superpowers. Major U.S. events. August of 74 stands out as one of the most pivotal moments in U.S. history, the month President Richard Nixon resigned from office in the wake of the Watergate scandal. The Watergate break-in itself happened in 1972 when 5 men were caught breaking into the DNC headquarters in Washington, D.C. The subsequent cover-up by Nixon administration officials unraveled over the next 2 years, aided by the reporting of Washington Post journalists Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein, along with the Senate Watergate hearings chaired by Senator Sam Ervin. In the summer of 74, the House Judiciary Committee had approved articles of impeachment against Nixon for obstruction of justice, abuse of power, and contempt of Congress. With impeachment by the House and removal by the Senate all but certain, Nixon became the first, and so far only, U.S. president to resign from office on August 9th. While his involvement in the break-in was never proven, his role in the cover-up fatally damaged his political career and the office of the presidency itself. Pop music. 1974 saw numerous icons firmly cemented in the annals of popular music history. Canadian singer-songwriter Joni Mitchell solidified her transition from folk to mainstream rock, releasing the seminal Court and Spark album to critical and commercial acclaim in January. Hits like Help Me and Free Man in Paris off this jazz-infused record propelled Mitchell to pop superstardom. In May, Duke Ellington, renowned composer and leader of his jazz orchestra for 50 years, passed away at age 75. His final concert was a Carnegie Hall performance in 1973 alongside Ella Fitzgerald. Meanwhile, Elvis Presley drew a television audience record of over 1 billion globally with his Aloha from Hawaii concert broadcast live via satellite. At the Grammy Awards in March, Stevie Wonder dominated the ceremony with 5 awards for his 1973 album Inner Visions and #1 single Living for the City. In July, rock legends Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young played a historic outdoor reunion show at London's Wembley Stadium to over 70,000 attendees. Film and TV. In June, Mel Brooks released the Western satire Blazing Saddles, starring Cleavon Little and Gene Wilder. The raunchy comedy was controversial for its use of racial slurs and flatulence gags, but became one of the highest-grossing films that year. Just 2 months later, Roman Polanski's noir mystery Chinatown, starring Jack Nicholson and Faye Dunaway, also hit theaters, reviving 1930s film noir with a sinister, fictionalized spin on early 20th century Los Angeles water wars. The movie earned widespread critical praise and 11 Oscar nominations, including Best Picture. On television, sitcom classics like Happy Days and Little House on the Prairie had their debut seasons in 1974. Happy Days in particular, starring Henry Winkler as the Fonz, ignited 1950s nostalgia. It also made Winkler a cultural icon of cool. Crime dramas Kojak, starring Telly Savalas, and The Rockford Files with James Garner also debuted in 1974 to high ratings and critical acclaim. Fashion trends. 74 fashion trends took cues from 1950 and 60s nostalgia, but made it visibly 1970s. Hippie trends like bell-bottoms, fringe, and psychedelic prints remained popular across genders. However, metallic jumpsuits, shoulder pads, and platform shoes also came into vogue, prefiguring disco-era styles. For women, high-waisted flared jeans, midi skirts often with loud patterns, and crop tops with wrap cardigans were ubiquitous. Men combined rakish leather, brightly printed shirts, velvet blazers, ascots, medallions, and more. Unisex styles also took off, including turtlenecks, capes, berets, high-heeled shoes, and shoulder bags for men. Common toys. Iconic toy franchises that emerged in the early 1970s continued their massive popularity during 1974. Nerf balls, Weebles, Magnadoodle, and Skill Critter were beloved by kids of all ages. For outdoor fun, Slip and Slide became iconic, while Stretch Armstrong took gross-out toy appeal to new extremes. Board games saw several classics that still get played today. The first Dungeons & Dragons basic set emerged in 1974 and spawned a legendary fantasy tabletop gaming phenomenon. Meanwhile, Warhammer Fantasy Battle tabletop miniatures wargaming also debuted in 1974 from UK company Games Workshop and collected a cult following through the 70s. For Family Game Night, 1974 saw electronic talking match games speak a new kind of interactive play. Building sets saw Lego start its space-themed sets in 1974, including kits for iconic ships from Star Wars and Star Trek. Magnetics building sets and Capsella construction toys also taught kids creativity and problem-solving. Cost of common goods. In 1974, the United States grappled with the repercussions of the oil crisis, which ignited a period of rampant inflation, deeply impacting the cost of everyday items. This economic upheaval dramatically altered the financial landscape for American consumers. A notable example of this shift was the price of gasoline, a vital commodity in the car-centric American lifestyle. From a modest 25 cents per gallon in 1970, gas prices soared to 53.7 cents by 1974, more than doubling in under half a decade. The ripple effect of this inflation was acutely felt in the realm of household essentials. For instance, the cost of a simple loaf of bread rose from 25 cents in 1971 to nearly double at 48 cents by 74. Similarly, a gallon of milk, another household necessity, jumped from $1.15 to $1.90 in the same period. Even leisure and lifestyle expenses were not immune. The price of a fast food hamburger, a symbol of America's burgeoning fast food culture, increased from 28 cents to 40 cents. In the entertainment sector, a movie ticket in New York City, which cost $1.50 in 1971, rose to $2 by 74. The housing market mirrored this trend. The median price of a home in 1971 was around $25,000, a figure that had escalated to $39,500 by 1974. This significant rise in housing costs was a clear indicator of the inflationary pressures permeating through every layer of the economy. Now it's time to hear from you. What's your strongest memory from 1974? Let us know in the comments section below.